So this video is all about using a ball to improve the function of your hamstrings, and in the process, hopefully helping improve the function of your knee, your hip, and your lower back. And it always sounds incredibly simple to suggest that something as simple as a ball can help improve your hamstring function quickly. But hopefully, as you'll come to see towards the end of this video, you might be able to notice some pleasing changes to the function of your hamstrings and the tissue that those hamstrings influence and connect to. It can sound strange to suggest that hamstring dysfunction could be playing a role in your knee, hip, and lower back dysfunction. But that's why a video like this can be really powerful, where if I can show you how to take a ball to find some of that hidden hamstring dysfunction, it could be the missing piece to the puzzle that you didn't realize you needed to look for to help improve those dysfunctions in those areas. So depending on where your ailment might be, it's really important you take a baseline measurement of your dysfunction so we have something to compare it to at the end of this video. So if you have some knee or hip dysfunction, it might require you to do some squats or some lunges in a way that might naturally reproduce or shine a light on your symptoms. If you have some lower back dysfunction, it may mean that you need to arch backwards or bend forwards or do another movement that you know day to day allows you to know that you have that dysfunction currently present. Because again, once we do this exercise, come back to those very same activities again and you'll see whether it's instantly any different straight away. So the first and probably the most simplest way to engage with this exercise with a ball is to start at the base of your hamstring, the lower part of your thigh, just before that hamstring crosses over the back of your knee. Now this is obviously more important for anyone who's dealing with more knee-specific dysfunction, because the lower down the hamstring is dysfunctional, the more likely it is going to impact the function and the health of that knee during everyday, day-to-day activities. All I want you to do is take that ball, place the ball into the back of your thigh, just a little bit to the outside, but essentially we want to move the ball around looking for anything that feels a little bit tight, a little bit gristly, a little bit tender perhaps. You might need to roll a little bit onto the outside corner of that thigh to find something that feels meaningful to you. But then what I want you to do once you are here is to keep some constant pressure on that ball and then incorporate some gentle range of motion exercises in the form of knee extension, straightening your knee and trying to shear free some of that tightness underneath the ball. So I want to get you to do 10 or 15 of these, do more if it feels comfortable, do more if it's definitely making a change and you feel like it's getting looser the more you do this. Then once you've had enough of that, we can then move the ball around a little bit more, you can move it up a little bit further and keep repeating this process, trying to capture as much of the tightness on the outside or lateral aspect of that hamstring as possible. I find with a lot of my patients clinically, if you're dealing with some lateral knee pain, whether it's some meniscal issues, some ITB issues, even some patellofemoral joint issues where that kneecap's not doing exactly what you want it to do, sometimes some tightness and some extra tension at the back of the knee on the outside can contribute to why that dysfunction may be there in the first place. But for this purpose, in trying to improve the function of those hamstrings, we can then start to make our way more towards the inside of the leg. I'll switch legs here. So as we make our way more towards the inside of the knee, we can then incorporate the same motion that we did before, where we're trying to get into the ball, use the movement of our leg, movement of the knee to shear free any of that tightness as best as you feel comfortable. Again, we don't necessarily need to be too specific as to where you are putting the ball in terms of which muscle it is, which one of the hamstring muscles it might be, whether we're coming in more towards the groin muscles or anything like that. Just find something that feels tight, get to work on making it feel less tight straight away. The other thing that we can do is we can tense that muscle, squeeze the tissue. This gets our brain involved. It creates this reflex that once we've squeezed this muscle for 5 to 10 seconds, that muscle gives when we give. And then as we release, you should then feel like the ball sinks in further than it did before. It may even be less tender than what it was before because the muscle fibers have given and relaxed because we've prompted them to. So coupling those two strategies together, what we can start to do is we can start to go looking for more and more areas that feel tight and restricted. As we become more towards the muscle belly, this may start to pick up on some previous hamstring injuries or hamstring muscle tears that you've had. It may also start to contribute to some of the sciatic type dysfunction that you may be experiencing or may have had previously, because that sciatic nerve goes straight down the middle of the two portions of the hamstring bulk. So again, any restrictions, adhesions, if that's not a dirty word, anything that's holding you back from functioning normally in this area, you may start to find becomes exposed when you're bringing the ball through these areas and using movement to shear it free. And then we can start to keep making our way up higher and higher towards that hip crease at the top. This may be more relatable to someone who's been dealing with some hamstring tendonitis or some high hamstring dysfunctions, tears or injuries. But obviously, as we said with the knee, as we get higher and higher up the thigh, we're naturally going to start to capture more portions of the soft tissue at the back of that thigh that might be influencing how your hip has been functioning, but also how your lower back has been functioning as well. And the interesting thing as we start to come up higher and higher towards that hip is that you might find that the knee extension part of this exercise may still give you some shearing type effects at the top of your hip here. But what we can actually start to transition to before we combine all this together is as you start to get right up into the top of that hamstring, almost right underneath that gluteal fold, you can then start to use hip flexion to shear free that tissue from above. So if you genuinely find that using a ball immediately improves the function and the mobility of your hamstrings, take it straight back into your squats, lunges, bending forwards, arching backwards, whatever you did before the exercise to get a sense of how your knee, hip and lower back were feeling, and take note of whether you feel something feels immediately different straight away. If it does, you may have just found one piece of the puzzle that you didn't realize existed until you went exploring with the ball. So again, please let me know in the comments down below how you felt that ball exercise went for you. Did you find any good spots? And also whether you found that it helped your knee, hip or lower back dysfunction in ways that you may not have realized before clicking on this video. But as always, thank you again for watching. Please consider checking out this next video, which may also be just as helpful as hopefully this one was. And I hope to see you there. Bye.